Alice ate all the meat and quite expected anything at all to happen. However, nothing, nothing at all. She found a good place to sit and, feeling defeated, began to cry. A pool started to form below her. I'll never get into the garden now. But then she suddenly felt very cross with herself. You ought to be ashamed of yourself, said Alice. A girl as great as you to go on crying this way? Stop this moment, I tell you. She went on, all the same, and gallons of tears formed a pool at her feet. Oh my, it was getting cold. When she heard the pattering of feet, she dried her eyes and looked to see who it was. Why, it was the rabbit running up the hill. He ran through saying, Oh, the Duchess, oh, won't she be savage if I've kept her waiting? As the rabbit came near, she stood and looked towards him and said timidly, If you please, sir. He started violently in an exaggerated manner that made Alice giggle just a little. He dropped his white gloves and ran as fast as his legs would take him. As it was very cold now, Alice picked up the gloves and stretched them over her large hands. My, how strange everything is today, she said. Yesterday things went on as normal. Am I a different person today? Ah, that's the great puzzle. As she thought through all the children her age, she decided that she surely could not be any of them. Ava has ringlets in her hair, and I do not have ringlets at all, Alice thought to herself. And I can't very well be Mabel, for I know a lot of things and Mabel does not. Let's see, she said. I know that 5 times 4 is 12, and 5 times 6 is 13, and none of that sounds right. Maybe I am Mabel. As she pondered this question, she noticed that the gloves were becoming quite large on her hands. Oh my! Am I shrinking or are they growing? She exclaimed. She looked down and saw that she was indeed shrinking. She quickly took the gloves off before she may shrink away altogether. It was warm again anyways. That was a narrow escape, said Alice, very shaken by the idea of shrinking away. And now for the garden, she said, quite recovered. As she turned to look for the door, she slipped in a pool of her own tears. Drowning in my tears shall be my punishment for not listening to myself when I said to stop crying, she said. Now that's an odd way to go. Just then, she saw the water stir. Curious, she moved toward the disturbance, to find that it was a rat. She deliberated whether talking to a rat made any sense, but things had been so out of sorts that it certainly felt like a reasonable thing to do. She completely offended the rat when she started by talking about Dinah, her cat, and how great she was at catching mice. She said in a very timid voice, Oh, I beg your pardon. I quite forgot you don't like cats. The rat replied, Come with me to the shore, and I'll tell you my story. Then you will understand why I do not like cats or dogs. Alice was more than ready to get out of the pool. The rat began his story by saying, Mine is a long, sad tale. Alice looked behind the rat. It is a long tale indeed, she said, but why would you call it sad? As the rat went on, Alice stood puzzled, for her idea of a tale was something like that of a rat's tail, and she was very confused. Alice said, It is not sad, it is quite happy. It is not, replied the rat. A knot? Alice exclaimed. Please let me help you undo it, for Alice loved to help. I shall do nothing of the sort. You insult me with such talk, said the rat, as he ran away angry. He did not return, but left Alice all alone. Now is when she noticed that the door had disappeared. She would not make it through the door after all. However, this did not stop Alice from looking for a way to get to the garden. The first thing I've got to do, said Alice, is to grow to my right size, and then find a way into that lovely garden. It sounded like an excellent plan, no doubt, and very neatly and simply arranged. The biggest issue is that she did not have the slightest idea how to start on this plan. As Alice was peering through the bushes, nervously, something brushed against her head. She looked up to see a giant puppy standing over her. The puppy was trying to touch her gently with its paw. "Poor little thing," said Alice in a coaxing tone, and then tried to whistle at it, but she was utterly terrified that the puppy may be too hungry to want to play, in which case it might gobble her up whole in spite of all of her coaxing. Alice picked up a piece of stick and threw it, whereupon the puppy yelped in delight and rushed after it. Alice took this as her opportunity to make her escape. So she set off at once and ran until she was quite tired and out of breath, and till the puppy's bark sounded quite faint in the distance. Alice leaned against a buttercup to catch her breath. What a dear little puppy it was! I would have much liked to teach it tricks if I were the right size to do so, she said, when suddenly she remembered that she needed to become the right size. Let me see. How is it managed? I suppose I ought to eat or drink something or other, but the great question is what? The great question certainly was what. Alice looked all around for anything she could eat that looked like it might make her normal size again. She came to a mushroom about the same size as her. She looked on either side and under it, but it did not occur to her to look on top. When she finally realized, she looked and saw a very strange thing. A blue caterpillar was sitting on top with its arms folded, eating, quietly talking to himself, and taking exactly zero notice of her or anything else.